Hey everyone! This past Sunday, we sang a song that was new to our congregation called Yes and Amen. The song is a reminder of who God is to us and how He has poured out His grace, brought us out of the darkness, and gives us mercy. It sings of His faithfulness and that He has pulled us close and out of the ashes. Kaylee Goslin remembers first hearing this song in church, and she kind of cringed when she heard it. To her at the time, it was again another overly catchy song that made her concerned that we were viewing God like a genie in the bottle for Him to do what we would like Him to do as we ask. That when we requested something, God's answers were always yes and amen, no matter what. But after digging deeper, she realized that the phrase comes right from Paul. At the time, Paul was supposed to be going to visit the Corinthian church, but plans kept changing. And even though Paul had pretty good excuses, such as extreme trials and suffering, there was a growing number of congregants spreading around that Paul must not be sent by Jesus because he kept changing his plans. They questioned if he was actually filled with the Spirit since he kept having to change his plans. So Paul responded, doing his best to explain his side of the story. Kaylee says, Paul gracefully but forcefully reminded his audience that his actions were not made by relying on worldly wisdom, but rather as a response to God's grace in his life. Paul was waiting on God to say, go to the Corinth church. Then Paul goes on to appeal God's character, saying in 2 Corinthians 1:18, but as God is faithful, our word to you was not yes. And for the Son of God, Jesus Christ, who was preached among you by us, by me, was not yes and no, but in Him it is always yes. For all the promises of God in Him are yes, and in Him amen, to the glory of God through us. God is faithful and His promises are true, and in response we say amen. Amen is a form of agreement, acknowledgement, mean so be it, or let it be as you say. We need to follow God's leading. When He says go, we go. When He says wait, we wait. In this case, Paul was ready to go, but using wisdom from God, not alone the physical challenges he was faced with, it just wasn't the time. I feel like in 2 Corinthians, Paul is saying, look, I actually have a good excuse for not coming to visit you when I said I would. But even with knowing that, God's promises are always yes and amen. God is to be trusted and faithful for what He says is true. On a side note, it is important to know that the things we do or say as Christians, others watch. If our words of love don't match up to showing love, that is representing God poorly to others. Yes, we are human, we make mistakes and have grumpy days, but we do our best to reflect and represent God well. But back to Paul's example, is we could have the best intentions and have the plans in mind of where we're going, where we're headed. But we need to listen to God and what He has planned for us. We walk through stuff that's unexpected, but God, His promises are sure, they are true, and all of His promises are yes and amen.
Yes.